Nick Davis is someone that I've come to know personally over the last few months. He's a fantastic coach, someone that's got an amazing story to share in terms of how he entered the industry, some of the ups and downs that he's encountered along the way, and the ways in which he's managed to turn it around. So I am very, very glad to introduce you to this person because not many of you will have heard from him, but he's exactly the type of person that I want to make sure more of our listeners get to hear from because he's a genuinely good guy. He's trying to do the best he can in the industry and helping his clients and working on himself and always developing himself personally. So without further ado, this is my interview with Nick Davis. Enjoy.
The Profit Podcast.
Nick, welcome to the show. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. If you can see me on the camera, if you're watching, the bags are a little bit heavy today. I'm a little bit tired, but other than that, I'm doing okay today. Yeah, I'm
They're,
doing okay.
they're, they're what you weren't after you've been a PT more than a year, mate. That's all that
Yeah,
looks
yeah. Do
like a
you
badge
know
of
that
honor.
the statistic of like, is it like 90% of PTs don't see the second year or whatever it is? And if you do, you look like it's your age. Like, I'm actually 18 years old. Uh, The last 2 years have really aged me. You have to forgive me. I've got a brew. That's another thing. You develop caffeine addiction as a personal trainer.
Yeah,
Like I just run off protein, long distance runs, and caffeine these days.
yeah. Cup of coffee had never passed my lips until I became a PT. So yeah, it is. It is just
I
pan.
weren't the biggest fan. But now it's like on the hour every hour.
So we're going to start today's conversation because there's a few different directions we can go with this, but I want to start with your journey into PT because I know
Yeah,
I know that it's a really good story, but I've not actually heard the story myself. So
I
me
know
and
it's a bit crazy that
me
because
and
we've,
Nick,
we've
me
obviously
and Nick
worked together,
haven't,
haven't we?
yeah, we've worked together, but we've not really known each other for a hell of a long time. So thought we'd
Yeah,
save the story for the show. So
yeah,
Nick,
yeah.
over to you. Give us a little insight into what your journey into PT was like.
I will do. Just before I start, I'm just going to apologise. I live on a main road. If you hear any background traffic, I do apologise. So I'll try and make sure I'm speaking clearly. So, but yeah, PT. Wow. How did we get here? It's one of them stories. Like a lot of PT. It starts off, I think, where kind of a lot of PTs go with it. Growing up, chubby kid, got weird in primary school. I was one of the heavier kids. Same in high school throughout. Although, like, they call it puppy fat, don't they? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Growing up, the old puppy fat. It never really stopped me from doing quite well in sports. I was like never really excelled at any, but I was fairly decent at football in all the teams. Never the last to be picked, but probably never the first neither. But yeah, I just always carried a little bit of extra puppy fat. That's what we'll call it. Go with obviously kids, especially get older, they, they can be cruel, and I got you just get slammed if you have an argument or shut up, you fat whatever, or whatever it may be. There's always like a bit of a tease about my weight and stuff like and that kind of stuck with me. I can remember like asking my mum to take me to she was doing Slimming World back in the day, and I was like, "Oh, I want to start going there." And I was only about 13 or 14 or something like that. So I'd always like kind of struggled with my weight. So I played football. I started going running a little bit when I was younger, and then I had a period in high school at the back end where I actually lost quite a bit of weight, and my athletic performance, if you will, I don't know where it come from. It just got a lot better. I was like one of the quicker people in the school. Like I was really quite fast and powerful. Um, but then something happened where I left school and I found alcohol and drugs. What many teenagers do, but my reality is I didn't find it. I did find once I found them, I never left them,
yeah,
and I fell into alcohol and substance misuse, and that went on from about the age of 16 to I was actually 24 when I cleaned up and got support for my issues around alcohol and substance misuse. But in between them, kind of the ages of 16 to 23, my weight used to fluctuate all the time. Um, 'Cause I'd take a long time out of the gym when I was hitting it a little bit harder and I'd gain weight, and then what I'd try and do to stop, um, to stop drinking and taking drugs, I would turn to exercise, and what I'd do is I'd just run myself silly. Uh, I actually remember one, um, I was running that much. I was running in the morning, about 7 miles, and again in the evening, sometimes trying to get a swim in there, and if anyone had any, like, labour work, I'd do that to work on a building site. I actually ran myself to 9.5 stone. I remember getting a kidney infection, and still trying to run through it. Um, so you could also say, like, being that addictive tendencies, it goes into other areas as well, which it very much did with my running. But in terms of, like, the gym and stuff, never really bothered with it. Did a little bit at 16 as something to do, and as you do when you're a kid from a council estate in, let's say, a gym which is bodybuilding orientated. Started taking anabolic steroids for a couple of weeks. I didn't even know what a protein target well, I didn't even know what protein was.
Yeah,
Didn't know
yeah,
it was just like, "What, they do that, right, I'll take some then." And even then, actually, one of the steroids I was sold was Winstrol, which is actually a cutting agent they use. So that mindset of, "Well, yeah, I wanna build muscle, but if I can take something to lean me out as well," was already there. And just for years, like, exercise was something I tried to turn to, um as a means to stay off alcohol and drugs, because from a very early age, the consequences were quite bad. Like, my family knew something weren't right. It wasn't just like your typical teenager who play a bit of an idiot and then go about it, go for a phase, shall we say, and then get a job and kind of grow out of it. It was just constant on and off for years, and it was degrees of it getting worse and worse, and the consequences would get worse and worse. My physical and mental health was in a really bad way. Rehabs, detoxes in hospital, from alcohol and stuff like that, so it was really bad, but I could never string consistency together ever in them times. It was just something I thought, if I do that and kind of fix externally what's going on,
yeah.
internally, it'll kind of fix it, which I see a lot now in the job, which we can touch on later on. But then of 2017, when it was at its absolute worst, my health was in a really bad way. I'd put a lot of weight on from alcohol, and I'd binge for days and then potentially isolate for a few days, and in that time, I'd just binge eat. And because I was predominantly a cider and lager drinker, I'd consume a lot of calories even when I weren't eating during these sessions, so I was just piling weight on, not staying active, and I ended up in really bad shape, like, quite bad shape, and, like, there was periods where 'cause I'd stuck at running on and off for so long, I was quite good, and I just remember feeling a physical wreck. I couldn't run very far. I felt really weak. I was tired all the time. And in 2017, after a few, like, rock bottoms and drug services and interventions, I, I got help. I really did. I went and got help. I went to somewhere called Narcotics Anonymous, which is 12 step, which is similar to Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I still go there now. I was there last night. That's why I'm a bit tired. The meeting finished a bit later. Um, and that's when I started recovery, getting into my recovery and living an abstinence-based life, which is I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I haven't done for 6.5 years. And when it kind of at the beginning, I was left with a lot of time to myself. I didn't have a job. I was signed off sick, off work. I was engaging with, like, services and mental health services. So I just started going to the gym as something to do, again, as a hobby. But because I was stopped and I stayed stopped for a period, I actually stuck it out. Didn't have a clue what I were doing, but I just kind of go in, chest on a Monday, back on a, um, Tuesday, shoulders Thursday, whatever it may be, and then I just kept going, and I remember, 6 months later, it was one of our mutual friends, Chris Lenkowski, was at Total Fitness in Preston where I were going. I come back to that gym after a period of time. I think I was around 6 months clean, and he went him and someone else in me, and they were like, "Bloody hell, what's happened to you? Last time I seen you, you was a wreck." And I look a lot better, should we say. And that's where it kind of went from there, and I always just had this fascination then with kind of weight loss, what the body can do, how it can change. And again, through all the periods of where I spent time, let's say, overweight and out of shape, I'd see magazine covers and it'd be how Jake Gyllenhaal built 21 pounds of muscle for Southpaw, the boxing film, if you've seen it, great film. Follow this workout and diet plan, Tom Hardy Warrior. And, like, I'd do them and they never would. And it was like and it was just that curiosity of how does this stuff actually work? And through, like, my journey of recovery and that passion and interest within fitness, I started, like, learning and developing more. I work with personal trainers, and then it just got put to me like, "Why you?" My friend said it very early on. Davey, I'm actually going to meet him after this podcast. My best mate said, "Why don't you try it? Why don't you try being a PT?" I was like, "Oh, I can't do that." And eventually, I just did the course coming out of lockdown, and then I just give it a go, and that's the very short version of a long, kind of complicated tale of how I've ended up at personal training. It's just the curiosity of how things work, inspired by my own life events of not wanting to kind of end up out of shape again. Because it also is a big part of my recovery, my physical and mental my physical well-being, and that the impact that has on my mental well-being as well, and it's just something I'm very passionate about. They say with, like, addiction, you can't just lose a habit, if you will, and replace it with nothing.
Yeah.
You have to have something, and I'm very lucky that I enjoy so many various forms of training, and I've done so many. So it has become like this passion what I really enjoy, and I enjoy learning about it, and especially now as my job, I wanna make sure I'm delivering the absolute best service I can, the most factual service, if you wanna call it that, for my clients. So that's pretty much how it started in 2021. From 2017 to 2021 was where it really kicked off. But yeah, I'd struggled all my life with weight, and having them struggles, I kind of feel like I know where clients are,
Yeah.
and I know the frustration when they're coming to you and they say, "The best one, you know it. I've tried everything,
Yeah.
except the one thing what really works is consistency forever."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And being on that journey. So that's kind of where how it happened.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. What a story. I mean, you've also sort of tested the limits of the body, haven't you? You've put your
Yeah,
body into every version of extreme you can possibly imagine.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think sometimes I'll be sat there, I bet my body's thinking, "Fuck off, Nick. Just piss off." I don't know if you swear on this, apologies, but I
No, it's
bet it's
fine.
like, "Oh, enough of this already." Yeah, I have. I've pushed it to the limit, negatively, and then I suppose which way you look at it, 'cause say running ultra marathons and all kinds of stuff is also can be quite negative for your health, but positively we'll call it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've really pushed it, but it's been such a good journey of self-discovery as well.
Yeah.
Really,
And I
massive.
suppose now that I've heard your story, Nick, 'cause we sort of we put this interview together sort of really last minute. We didn't
Yeah,
overplan. We said, let's just jump on and talk. And now I've heard that, I think what would be interesting to get your insight on is now that you've been part of the industry a couple of years, you must notice from the journey that you've been on, you must see signs in our industry of addictive stuff, maybe
yeah,
stuff that goes on just in terms of people's negativity towards themselves, using
yeah.
exercise. Obviously, exercise is a great thing, but maybe using it to overcome demons and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
I'd be interested to know what that's like for you as someone that's lived that and what you see these days in a typical
yeah,
commercial gym. Like what I know I've not
yeah.
really asked a question there, but what are your thoughts on those things
Yeah, I
you
get what I
notice?
completely understand what you are asking there though, without, like, a definitive question. So I actually did a video about this, uh, because I am very open about my recovery, about my journey, about my struggles, and I have them still today. As you're aware, recently, I've had setbacks, not with drinking drugs, but with other issues that I've had. And I share that openly on Instagram to try and be real, authentic, and sort of identify with your everyday person. But on that, touched on something that I think it's very easy to look at, kind of say my journey. I can only speak on my journey and the people I've worked with, and people almost look towards me and think, if I just do what Nick done, that'll work for me. Thinking I've just got fit and everything went away and got better. Like, not the case whatsoever. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I attend regular meetings still. I've been through extensive therapy. I've got a really supportive family and partner. And although, yes, exercise and training is so important for me, what I do outside of that, like my recovery, I say, that's what allows me to do the stuff I enjoy, like the exercise, and I add that on. And I have worked with people, not actually, I've worked with people myself, but I do see people just think, like I said, I think I just touched on it before, if I fix externally what's going on, internally will be fine. And like I've sometimes had conversations and I'm like, you don't need a PT right now. You need to go away and do some work on yourself because not all behaviors or like behaviors or habits or places you may be in your life, which may be not the best place, shall we say, can't always be fixed with just a six pack or losing a stone or getting a new one rep max. You just can't. And that's what I touched on. I think a really good example of that is, and there's loads of good examples. Look at professional athletes.
Yeah.
Look at professional athletes. Dele Alli recently, millionaire footballer, was touted, was he like the next big thing in England?
Yep.
Still,
Yep.
still felt his drug addiction.
Yep.
Um, Tyson Fury, prime example, champion of the world, mental health, bipolar disorder. And I know he says that, but he went to doctors and, and got help. And that's massively important. And I do feel like we as an industry and all I can only focus on what I do because I can't control the industry as much as I'd like to. Just be a little bit careful sometimes about what message we put out. Like, yes, personal training is amazing, and having a conversation with your PT, who let's have it straight, sometimes becomes a little bit of a friend, can do you the world of good. But like, it doesn't fix everything. That makes sense. Um, so yeah, something I'm kind of always mindful of, and like, if someone picks me, which I have had, like, a friend at the start when I was starting my business, he, like, wanted to work with me because of my experience with drugs and the way where he was in his journey, and I was like, "You need to go and speak to professionals. I'm not a professional with this. I just can coach exercise."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it, innit? I can coach exercise and give basic nutritional advice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's just it. I think it is interesting, like, how where the industry is and where people perceive what the industry can do for them. And you know what though, sometimes it works, doesn't it? Some people do like just commit to this new way of life, it saves the life, or it just takes it in a completely different direction. So it is a really interesting question. I like there wasn't a definitive question. There's no definitive answer.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's, like you say, it's understanding it won't fix anything. I suppose something that would be interesting to get your view on there is you used very early on in that, you mentioned the term, "Some people just need to go and work on themselves."
Yeah,
What does that mean to you, Nick? Because that's a phrase that we hear loads these days. We hear
yeah,
we hear about this all the time. Prioritize yourself, work on yourself, and I think it's one of them things that we hear and people acknowledge it without actually thinking, what does it mean? Like,
yeah,
I imagine it is very individual. I know how
absolutely, yeah.
I know how I work on myself, but again, I'm interested in your sort of take on that.
So for me, like, it kind of boils down to I know certain areas within my life where I struggle. Like, I can struggle with. I can use a personal example. I've struggled massively with my body image over the years.
Yep.
Might well think it now. I just posted a bloody before and after picture on Instagram just literally yesterday. But believe it or not, like many personal trainers, and I think we all do, can have really bad self confidence. Um, And like something I've had to work on is kind of how I perceive myself compared to others, especially working as a PT where in a commercial gym where you all can be exposed all day, every day. Unbelievable physique, unbelievable physique. I just did a high rocks on the weekend. I've never seen so many six packs in one place. I thought I'd gone to a bodybuilding pro show rather than a fitness event. I actually come away thinking I want to go on fish and rice cake diet and take Trembolone. Don't worry, I'm not gonna, but do you know that kind of that's how insecure I can still be, and a lot of my clients have said to me, "I'd love to look like you, Nick." And I'm always flattered, but I still have that underlying issues with my body confidence, and it's something I've had to work on. I've spoke to my partner's mum who works in eating disorders as a mental health nurse. I've spoke to therapists and done work about it in my recovery and stuff like that, because I understand it isn't from a very healthy place at all. There is that always striving to be better, but then I think there's a line, isn't there, where it can become detrimental. And I remember chasing like being ultra lean and shredded, training like a lunatic. And I got to this position where I was extremely lean. I had abs, cheekbones looked like something from a GQ magazine. Um, I looked in the mirror and I thought, I'm really not happy here.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of hit me like, "You're still not happy, like, how far are you gonna take this?"
Yeah.
And what I was doing as well was so extremely unhealthy. Like, I was doing CrossFit classes 2, 3 times a day to try and just blast myself into shape, and it was like, I just had to sit there and be like, I remember my partner saying, "You're always tired, you're always grumpy, you don't wanna come out and eat food with me." Everything what is kinda positive in my life, I got pushed to one side in order for this goal that I thought were gonna make my life better, and when I got there, my life was 10 times worse. It was worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing I thought I wanted when I the only way I can describe it is I climbed this ladder, and when I got to the top, I looked and thought, "Shit, wrong building."
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? You know what I mean? And that's where I thought, I have to work on myself, not physically, but in here. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not gonna be fixed by just going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's
little
almost like
more
it
eating
sounds
big,
like
yeah.
it's like that relationship you have with yourself. We have
Yeah,
relationships with everyone else, and we
yeah,
look after those really well.
yeah, and
That
yeah.
relationship with yourself.
And that's what I find, going through drug addiction, that I'm not afraid to share. I'm not gonna disclose stuff too personal, but I wasn't a very nice person. I was a drug addict. I'd thieved from family. I was quite, like, very selfish, borderline abusive, and that's left me with, like, this guilt and self-shame, and sometimes I'd rather not face that and run away and fix all that externally, do you know what I mean? So, like, what do you know what I mean? It's like I now I try and treat people all the time very well, but I need to make sure that I'm treating myself right.
Yeah.
'Cause it can also become very much like it was almost like punishment what I was doing to myself, like, avoid looking at yourself and what you need to work on and just get this external thing of this six pack and you'll be fine, and I weren't fine.
Yeah.
I was actually probably physically at my worst and mentally, like, not in a great place neither. So I think that kinda that's what I think it means to me to work on yourself, like, to really work on yourself. It goes a little bit more than just the external, doesn't it? It's about focusing on kind of what's going on in here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think it's always a tough, dangerous word to use, tough balance, but it's like when you I'm still on sort of on the fence around how good it is that we still put physique so much out there in the way that we do. I think it's great for people to strive for
yeah,
good health and good physiques and things like that. Obviously, a lot of what we see tends to be the extreme, so it's probably not good
yeah.
health. Um, but I even think back to, I think back to my younger days, and the irony here is this program has just come back. I used to watch Gladiators, and
Oh,
just come
yeah.
back, and
I just did a piece on that.
I
I
remember watching
yeah,
them, and I mean, obviously these were like big muscly guys and strong women and things, but I think the good thing is that I took from that I wanted to be as capable as they were.
yeah,
I wanted to be able to do what they can do. And
yeah.
like, the new ones now, I saw the episode recently and I was like, these guys are just ridiculously big, aren't they? Like they're so
So, yeah, I just did again a little Instagram video on this, and I actually used one of the gladiators he's just been come out and said he's using steroids, doesn't he? Like, now, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone or any potential listeners or viewers. The geezer who was on the front of that, article, if you can't see he's doing something, like, you are probably maybe not in the industry, or if you are kind of into your fitness or in the industry and you're like, "No, I thought it was natural," bit naive a little bit.
yeah,
One thing like CrossFit helped me with that, like, kind of, don't matter how you look, if you can't do that workout on that board, don't matter if you've got a six pack, you can't do it.
yeah,
So that's why I did love about CrossFit and still do, and my other and my marathon running and stuff like that. But just touching on the gladiators, I don't know how big this podcast is, so I'm gonna be careful. There was someone who's on the
cartoon.
shore at Hyrox on weekend. He walked past me, could not believe the size of this gentleman. I couldn't believe how quick him and his partner, who was also ridiculously big and conditioned as well, really lean,
Yeah,
how quick they did it. Um, and I just thought, who are you trying to kid? Who are you trying to kid? But that's the problem, and it's like that's on Instagram. And as an impressionable young man at one point, which I was, and I touched on like when I used to see Jake Gyllenhaal on the Men's Health covers or the Tom Hardys, all these actors doing these transformations. I'd be like, "How do I get that?" Or "I need to get that," and you don't really realise just what they are doing to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many cases, do you know what I mean? It's like you say on the gladiators now, like, they're not they're just it's just ridiculous, isn't it? And it's not real life, but it makes you feel like it's real.
Yeah.
Does you feel like it's real?
Yeah, and I watch it very differently now because I watch it and, like, I've got a 6-year-old son that thinks it's great. It's like, "Oh, look at them men hitting each other with these big
Yeah.
balls," and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's great," but at the same time, you're on trying to make sure that he's not aspiring to be some steroid abusing, fitness freak in the
That's the
future.
problem though, isn't it? That is the problem. Like I said at High Rocks at the weekend, they were like, you're a joke to your industry, ain't it? You're not a personal trainer."
Yeah,
And the scary thing is, and this taps into again what we're talking about, where working on yourself and insecurities. I actually genuinely thought that you are shit at your job because of the way I look compared to other people. Me and my partner, for our first event, considering I don't train for High Rock while they're running,
yeah,
I have a good runner. He had flu. I'd barely done any station work. I had a 4-month injury in my hip last year, leaving me very limited to what I can do. Out of all the gyms what in Preston what sent doubles there, I think, um, who trained specifically for High Rocks events, we come first. We did really like we finished so quick for our first time, but still, like, forget that. I don't look like him, so what's the point?
yeah,
And it's a performance-based event, and I can still have them insecurities now, so God knows what someone who isn't kind of educated around what these people are potentially doing feels when they look at someone and go, what's the point in me going to the gym when I don't look like him? But I'm trying really hard." Look, it's mad, innit?
yeah,
It
yeah.
is it is really crazy.
Yeah, trying to educate people on that. Now,
Yeah,
I do want to turn the conversation over to because our listeners love hearing stories and journeys and
yeah.
insights, but then they also like the business side of what people do.
Alright, yeah, yeah,
So you're a few years into this now. You've inevitably gone through the normal ups and downs that a PT would have, and
yeah,
maybe a few additional ones. Um, so talk to us about like what the journey's been like for you. And I know that recently you've had to sort of really knuckle down and
yeah, build it back.
pick things up again. But I
Yeah,
know that last month you had a really good month in terms of picking up
yeah,
clients and things. So run us through that. What's your first few years been like? How have you found it? How are you managing it? Like, run us
yeah.
through it.
So the one thing I found as a personal trainer, I have a passion for exercise, fitness, and all that kind of stuff. Unqualifying as a personal trainer, um, before all that, I'd done quite a lot of charity work in my local area, which I'm quite passionate about, giving back to community what I feel like I've harmed ultimately, when I was in drug addiction. But that's also it allowed I had a charity page, which is now my coaching page. It used to be called Running with Nick. Um, but that kinda allowed me to already have a bit of a presence within fitness, if you will.
Yep.
So I was very fortunate where I got offered an opportunity at, independent gym, and it was also they had a bit of a basic wage there, so for your gym duties, which is not very common. Um, and because of kind of where I was at and the fitness stuff before, it left me, with a bit of exposure, so I picked things up relatively quickly. Like, I got my I always say to people, they go, "I just wanna get to, like" when new PT start, "I just wanna get, like, 20 clients or whatever." I'm like, "Just get your first 5." Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just focus on the first just get your first one through the door, then worry about the next one. So I picked them up quite quickly. The one thing I did struggle with, like, as you'll know with PT courses, they're almost like a merry-go-round now. You get 'em qualified, get 'em out. Um, and, they're not as in depth as what I sit perhaps they should be. So I didn't really realise, like, that when I landed on a gym floor, the stuff I found piss easy and what I love, no one found easy and no one loved it. So from a coach perspective, I was almost like, "Why can no one squat? Why can no one hinge? Why can no one lunge? Um, I don't know how to fix this." Um, and also kind of I weren't told about marketing, how to run a business, policies and procedures. So I was just this lad with a laptop, which I got on finance, um, a bit of passion and work energy for something I cared about and still care about, and kind of just like go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to start. I was very fortunate. The independent gym I had, the fella who owned it, he was a physio for a professional football club, and the coaches there were doing masters in like strength and conditioning and stuff, which is quite advanced. That really advanced stuff. Which me being who I am, which I'm a keen learner and fascinated within fitness, that really took care of the stuff I didn't know as a coach.
Yeah.
And I also work with people like our friend Chris
Yep.
Lenkowski, who he's been PT for ages, very clever lad. Um, Another PT, Matt Beanham, really clever lad, been in the industry for a long time. So that kind of took care of the coaching stuff. And I think that's just getting like anything when you start, innit? You're not great at it and you get better. And I was watching a video of me coaching the RDL first session and compared it to one recently. It, oh God, I can't put it on there, but do you know what? It's just like there, like and there. But in terms of like the business and the ups and downs of the business, it has been really like a massive learning curve. And like we've talked about this, and one of the reasons why I work with you is because I found you so authentic on your Instagram about the industry. There's this massive perception that everyone who becomes a PT becomes James Smith.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you just get loads of followers, loads of online clients, and they work in Bali. It's so not the case. It is the most demanding job I've had mentally, physically, emotionally. You deal with clients who aren't as they start and then it tapers off quite quick, and sometimes you don't pay you have sleepless nights about kind of when you're building, people dropping off, and will you cover the bills this month? Which I'm at that position again, by the way, because I had to take some time off last year. I've just got experience of how to handle that now better.
Yeah.
But it really is that up and down roller coaster. And what I see this kind of being used a bit against coaches, where there's that statistic what we talked about at the start, 9% of PTs don't see the first 2 years or whatever it is. And it's not because they're not good or they're not capable of doing the job. Just the burnout ratio. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't blame anyone for that place where most are just like, "Do you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm really done here." So yeah, like it has just been kind of one big like massive up and down, and getting new clients and stuff. I'm quite fortunate. I'm a real people's person. I love interacting with people. I love talking to people. So when I did move to my commercial gym, which sadly the independent gym shut down, I moved to this commercial gym, and I was in my element. I was a bit more in the centre of town. And like I said, I'm quite well known in my local area. So I've always been able to pick clients up and stuff like that. But yeah, there is that, like, I feel like PT especially, because it is so easy to become qualified. I think there's courses what can get you qualified in within a weekend now,
Yeah.
which is fucking mental, by the way.
Yeah.
Needs changing. Definitely needs changing. But there's this like, I'll do my qualifications, go online and just make loads of money. And honestly, it isn't like that. You've really
Oh,
got to have the what I have toyed with, like, yourself leaving the industry, and the reason why I haven't is 'cause I really love it. I really love the job itself on the gym floor, coaching,
yep.
or even online, adding that value to someone's life, because I know how important this stuff is for someone's life.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it is like it has been like a massive up and down roller coaster where there's been many sleepless nights, there's been many great months as well. Nothing beats that like tech. You really helped change my life and stuff. That is price, and ultimately that's why we should be doing the job. Do you know what I mean? If you nail that and you generally care, the money comes anyway. The business side of it comes anyway, and you learn about that stuff about systems, getting like payment plans in place and cancellation policies and stuff like that. You learn all that along the way. But yeah, it's some journey. Some
Yeah.
journey. I've a book that question, have I?
No, no, that's great. And I think when you first start, it's just that naivety, isn't it? That because you enjoy it and you turn up,
Oh yeah,
you assume that everyone will show up to the sessions because it's great.
absolutely.
Why wouldn't you? It's great. So,
Yeah,
and it's just, yeah, understanding, sort of structures and systems, and then human behavior as well. Just like
yeah,
understanding humans, like that's a massive thing in and of itself.
yeah,
There's a lot to try and take in. And like you say, you can qualify really quickly now with not really much education needed before that point. It almost, in many ways now, it feels like it's almost teetering on this like get rich quick scheme. It's like get a
yeah.
qualification, get
It
online and make,
That's how it
like you say,
feels,
make
doesn't it?
loads.
That's definitely how it feels at times, and that can be frustrating as someone who cares.
Yeah.
Um, And ultimately, like, when you're dealing with people and humans who, like you say, we have different issues in life and potentially have different behaviors and different struggles, you can really fucking harm someone.
Yeah.
And like, you can really harm someone. And something I will openly admit on this podcast, I started an online service and I took someone online naively thought I'll be able to sort it, I'll be able to help it. Um, I'll be able to help them, sorry. And then nothing too serious happened, but they were nowhere near ready to go online. They need one-to-one PT.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm gonna have to stop this, and with the money you pay me, I will put towards a month membership, JD, and you come in for some one-to-ones." Because like I say, like, you can't really harm someone or you even just that they do a bit of online with you, then maybe they get a PT further down the line, and this is harmful and detrimental to you as a coach. They might leave, go to someone else, and they can't do a Scooby Doo, but they still say, "Oh, he was my PT."
Yeah.
And then it's like this, because I've had it where people have come to me and I've been like, "You paid someone and you don't know what you do, like you don't know anything."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
like and that worrying because I had that thought, "What's this coach done?" But then again, I've been the coach who did that. I
Yeah.
took someone online, they weren't ready for it, and I don't know, they could be with a PT now and be like, like, they don't know, like, how to hinge and stuff, whatever it may be, like, you ask for video feedback and you don't get it. There is a bit of give and take both ways there, like, you gotta if you never set foot on a gym floor, you've gotta be like, "Am I really ready for all that?" But also as a coach, it's about being, like, integral and being like, "No, you're not ready."
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's all that, and like you say, it's so easy to sell something so quick now, especially in fitness. It is that, now, innit?
Yeah. Big time. Big time. And you mentioned as well, like during the bits where we were talking about the ups and downs, and you actually mentioned it before we hit record as well. You mentioned about the idea of people are still overlooking the impacts that you can have just by talking to people in terms of growing your business,
Massive,
bringing on
massive.
clients. And I actually think those are the clients actually that usually are the best clients in
Yeah.
situ
Oh, yeah.
that go.
Yeah,
So talk to
definitely.
us about that because I know the audience love to listen about how to do that and get clients.
Yeah, so I started at my current gym now, JD Preston, in June of 22, June 2022, so it's my second year there. I had to go on hours for a little bit because of the way the gym's set up. You need to know you can shut the gym down if needed. Because I wanted to go rent-based straight away. So I did classes, got to know a few members, and throughout that time there, you just develop them conversations, like something I learned, I think you told me and other people is like, even if you're having a bad day, like, I'm not saying you have to just out and out lie and be all chipper, but just, hello, how are you goes a long way.
Yep.
It really does. And just kind of like built one of my proudest achievements as a coach is the amount of lads in that gym who call me Uncle Nick is a joke. And some people go, "Is he really your nephew?" I'm like, "No." But this leads me on to kinda having them laughs and stuff like that, and I'm a bit of a, say, call it character, but like Jack, try and think I'm a bit of a Jack the Lad, if you wanna say it, and I'll always have banter with some of the lads. I'll say like, "What's that on your shorts? Some thread?" And they look down, I go, "Oh, sorry, it's your legs, mate," on about my skinny legs, and I've got this other saying where I say, "Fun, when the girls go, 'You're glowing,' on Instagram captions." I say that to, like, a lot of my female clients and, like, girls who I know in the gym, by the way. I don't say it to anyone I've never met. It's kinda just gets you that, like, suppose you, like, come across how I am, which is friendly, quite brash, and easy to have a conversation with. And nothing, like, really happened within the first year and stuff like that. A lot of people go to the gym, keep going, keep going, keep going, and then whenever they don't see results or stop seeing the results and start considering a PT, which a lot of people did, I was on the radar because I was that guy who was easy to speak to,
Yeah.
have a chat with. Um And that's almost a lost art, and it touched on what we were on about before. People just think that they can set up an Instagram page and then clients just message and be like, "How are you?" I do get a lot of traction and traffic through Instagram, but just them human interactions and them face-to-face conversations are so key. Like, they are so key, and last year I had to just said before, I had to take some time off work, a couple of months. Clients left, unfortunately, and which I understand. Every client I picked up in January, or people I've worked with who now know I'm back at work, or they are members already at my gym. who I've just had conversations with for the last couple of years, who now this year have gone, "I want a PT."
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just
like,
to sort of show people the impact of that, Nick, tell the audience how many clients you signed up in January.
I think it's close to 11.
Yeah,
Wait, 10, but, like, there's someone who's due to sign up this month as well, and then again, February is another great month
yeah,
for personal trainers.
yeah.
So, like,
But the thing there is regardless of the month of the year, like, because I was warning people of this before New Year. I was saying, if you think New Year is gonna be great,
oh,
you're kidding yourself. You've got to go and do the work for it to be great.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
And
and
that's what Nick's done.
yeah, and that and it was work that I weren't even consciously aware I were doing.
Yeah,
I just love interacting with people and having them conversations, but one thing I'm not stupid, like, I know, like, you get on with a lot of people in a gym where you see each other every day, and one day they want a PT, they're gonna go, "Lee, we're lovely," so I'll just pick him and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's just like them seeds have been planted and they've been blossoming without me even knowing.
yeah,
And yeah, it's like January, it's not just, how many PTs is there? It's a very saturated market. You know, they could can't just sit there and do nothing because everyone's thinking the same thing. January, new clients, let's go. So you've got to have kind of the stuff in place,
yeah.
which is so important. You know, you've got to have your plan ready.
Yeah, big time. And then as well, like I said earlier, like when someone has built a relationship with you and they know you and they know you're a good guy, I do think that you stack in things in your favor then in terms of that person is far less likely to mess you around. That person is far less likely to not listen. That
Yeah,
person is far less likely to take you for granted.
yeah,
Whereas if it's someone that you've just signed up off the back of a post that you've done that they've
yeah,
seen for the first time and it just said the right thing at the right time and they inquire. I'm not saying that it means they're automatically a terrible client, but I'm just saying I think there's too much weight given to
yeah.
those types of interactions compared to what you
Def
build in the gym and how that leads.
So, like, before I went to the commercial gym, or like I'd say this last year, a lot of my leads and stuff were from Instagram, and I fell into this trap of I before and afters, which are a great tool, by the way, shows the client's hard work, shows the trainer's hard work, but I'd kind of put difference 6 weeks apart or 8 weeks apart, and people would message me from the back of that and just presume that, "Oh, if I sign up with him, I'd get that." And it's not the case, you know, that person in the photo sees me maybe 1 hour a week, but does all the work, which I give them the tools, and they go and use the toolkit, if you will, for the other how many hours a week they don't see me, which is a hell of a lot. And then when people kinda don't do that and they just sign up on a, "Well, they've got good results, surely I will," and it doesn't quite work that way for them. They go just as quick as they come.
Yeah.
Go just as quick as they come. You know, so I've kind of really tried to stay away from that. And one thing I will say about personal training and coaching, and for anyone listening to this who's potentially thinking about investing as a personal trainer on the back of transformation photos, and I'm not dissing them or anything because I use them, and I know many people who are great coaches, really clever, who specialize, for saying, body transformation. Putting someone in a calorie deficit is the fucking easiest thing we do in our job. Doesn't make like, and that goes for me, that doesn't make me a great coach.
Yeah.
My transformation pictures don't make me a great coach. They really don't. That's the Bob basics. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I knew how to do all that before I become a personal trainer. And you know, the about being a good coach and being the right coach for someone looking to invest is about understanding them, being able to kind of empathize with where they're at in the journey. Oh, hello, what's going on here? Sorry, please going past. Not the officer, but no, being able to empathize where they're at in the journey. Maybe it is that rocket they need a little bit sometimes. There's so many different complexities to it. And like, can I meet this person for where they're at? I've had clients terrified to walk in a gym. When I mean terrified, there's been one girl who's a client now and a friend now. I nearly called the first session off. She was that scared. That's when you're tested as a coach, and that's what you should be investing in. Because
Yeah.
the easiest part is the reps and sets and the nutrition. You can get all that for free anyway on YouTube and on the internet.
Yeah.
What you're investing in is that person to help you apply it, but know where you're at, to meet you where you're at and take you to where you need to be. And that's the hard part. That's the challenging part. And that's what I try to now market to as who I am as a coach and who I want to work with. Do you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what, Nick? I think that is a fantastic place to sort of finish off this conversation. That's a
Yeah.
great way to sort of pull it all together and say, look, this is what to focus on as a coach. This is obviously you've
Yeah, yeah,
got to have the technical skill set, but ultimately this is what your clients need from you. This is what,
absolutely.
hopefully clients are looking for. And that just rounds it all off really, really nicely. So thank you very much for sharing your story, Nick, because,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolute pleasure, Matt. It
I
really
know
is.
I know that you're happy to share it, but I don't take that for granted. I think it's great that you're trying to spread that message and sort of let people know that, it's not that life's miserable or anything, but it has its ups and downs. It has its you have your battles, you have your
Yeah,
struggles, but you get through them and you're
that's
a
it.
great a great inspiration in that case. So thank you very much for all of that. If anyone wants to come and find you, Nick, off the back of this podcast today, where's the best place for them to come and find you?
The old Instagram it is, to be fair, and that is at @ndavis coaching.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
make sure that it gets tagged in any of the videos and stuff that we share
yeah,
online, so you'll
yeah,
find him there.
definitely, definitely, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it, Matt. Thank you.